Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Jock. And Jock, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great to be here. My name is Jock Merriman. I live down in Austin, Texas at the moment. I'm originally, as you can probably tell, from Australia. I grew up on a ranch in the country in Australia, and that's probably what has led us to be here chatting today.
Awesome, awesome. So, what do you do for a living?
So I run a merino wool clothing company, which is all our clothes are made from Australian merino wool, which is heavily in my background. It's what our family has done back on our ranch in Australia for the past 120 years. So um, yeah, it's a really cool thing to kind of be able to continue on.
So, did you take your business from Australia to Texas, or how did you start your business?
I didn't. So, I grew up on our ranch, on our farm, in our family business. Loved it. But when I would just after I graduated college in Sydney, I was kind of ready for a bit of an adventure and to go and see the US. And I grew up playing a lot of rugby union, which is a sport it's growing here, but it's bigger in Australia. And so I had the opportunity to come and play here in Austin, Texas, about 5 years ago, which was fantastic. And it was meant to just be for 1 year, and I was gonna head back home. But yeah, 5 years later, I'm still kind of here. I ended up getting a job or two here in Austin, and that kind of kept me here. And then the past year and a half, I launched my clothing company, and yeah, have just been kind of doing that and getting that up and running since then.
So, right now, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I still kind of have a day job on the side, as a priority. So for the moment, while I get things up and running on the Merino business side, I focus mainly on my day job, 9 to 5. But then those extra hours are spent, in the mornings, particularly waking up, packing up orders, getting them get down to ship them off in the morning, and then at night you're kind of just checking your Facebook and Instagram ads, making sure they're all kind of running smoothly and performing, and yeah, just working on the next creative and kind of all those next steps that you need to be on top of.
Qasim, you're on.
So, by the way, what is in your mind about your team? What do you look for in the new team members if you are adding team members, if you are not a one-man army?
Yeah, I think finding people who can bring something to the table that I can't, or that I'm not kind of as proficient at. And I think it's a key for a small business to be very specific on which parts of your organization you need to fill first. For my business particularly, like there's a lot of different parts of the business that I'm just kind of learning as I'm going, which I think is a great thing, to be honest, because it helps you get a much better understanding for that role and what you kind of need to look for and who you need to look for too.
Great. But what is your team size right now in terms of all the whoever is working on your system and all the third parties as well? Like I believe sometimes in business there are some other parties, third parties working with you. How is it this structure?
Yeah, I mean, my structure is pretty much one man team. At the moment, I'm quite lucky. I have a good relationship with my manufacturers, and so I can kind of handle all that side of things. And then, I really wanted to upskill myself on the digital marketing side of things. So I did a course or two last year to kind of get up to speed on that and just make sure, as I said earlier, that like I learned how it all operated and what to look for, rather than just going out and paying a third party company to do it, without really understanding what they were trying to achieve and how they were trying to achieve it.
And how you found your manufacturers, by the way?
How did I find them?
Your manufacturers.
Yeah, how did I find them? Like,
Yeah, how?
Yeah,
Yeah.
how did you
oh,
find them?
okay. Yeah, I mean, growing up in our industry, we're kind of a big part of that. It's been in our family for a long time. So we have a lot of great relationships just through our family history and connections. But there's a really great company out there called the Woolmark Company. who do a lot of the marketing for Australian wool around the world. And they have a lot of very close relationships and partnerships with manufacturers, designers, small business, and then obviously a lot of the larger companies. But they're a really great resource. So anything I kind of needing, or, you know, hey, I'm thinking about adding this product, what fabric, they can kind of connect me with the right manufacturers or fabric makers there.
So in terms of, so all your products are made in Australia, correct?
No, so we have, my partners are in Shanghai,
Yeah.
but all the wool is grown in Australia. So kind of similar to the US, a lot of early stage processing for pretty much everything went offshore many years ago. It's just so expensive there. Labor costs in Australia are kind of crazy. So yeah, I got all my partner is over in Shanghai, and you know, they're fantastic, but they buy the greasy wool, or the, you know, wool in the raw format from Australia, from the wool growers in Australia. Gets shipped over and they process it there and turn it into yarn and then fabric, and, you know, able to cut and sew for me.
So in terms of like that process, can you kind of go more in detail into like into finding those manufacturers? 'Cause I think it's like so many of our listeners or just people in general struggle with, you know, working with companies in China because the quality can vary. I mean, sometimes it can be really good, sometimes like it's not as good. Like, what's that process like for you?
I kind of consider myself very lucky in that, I mean, as I mentioned before, the Walmart company, you know, not only do they do a lot of the marketing, but they also do a lot of the product testing, and they basically hold, you know, companies and brands can be licensees of the Walmart company, and so it really holds these manufacturers to a standard. So if you want to be a Walmart standard manufacturer or operator, you know, you've got to meet certain requirements. You know, you've got to put out a product that is long lasting and works, and et cetera, et cetera. So my company is a Walmart licensee, and so I really did kind of just get lucky in that I found this fantastic manufacturer that is a one-stop shop for me personally. However, I know before I'd come across these, it was very stressful trying to think about, okay, how am I going to line up the pieces between getting the greasy wool from here to this stage, to this stage, to this stage. And, you know, my cousin, she's actually an Australian, she runs a ladies merino wool clothing company, and she does kind of go a bit deeper than I do in terms of, she sources the yarn from one place, makes sure it's up to standard, tests it, and then she gets that all shipped over to, you know, the knitwear factory where they actually do then knit her sweaters, I should say, for our listeners here. But yeah, so there's a bit more to the supply chain for them, but, you know, it really just, for me, depends on the product you want to make, how particularly and, you know, specific you want to get with it. But for me, I'm very lucky in that the type of clothing I want to make is very easily be sourceable from my manufacturers.
That's awesome. So like you mentioned social media and running ads, you know, what has that process been like for you? I mean, what platforms like have you used, or what platforms have you found to be the most successful for you and getting the word out about your brand?
Yeah, I mean, I've focused on just Facebook, so Facebook and Instagram. Really is just a base, because I think if you can get that right, you can really scale quickly. And you know, I did a course that really helped me set myself up of understanding, well, first of all, connecting all, you know, Facebook with your Instagram and Shopify and things like that, which making sure that's all set up and tagged properly is, you know, one of the, I think probably the trickiest thing that I would have had to come across had I not done this course. But for me, just a really great experience learning about all that, and being able to, you know, just test different creatives, different copy, and just see which worked. And you know, when I first launched my ads, I was like, okay, this copy's fantastic, this ad's going to be awesome, people are going to love this. And you know, you just, like, your ROAS was just not kind of where it needed to be. And then so I just took a step back and was like, yeah, I'm going to like think about this a little bit more. And yeah, was able to just fine tune it. And, you know, you start to see the fruits and you're like, wow, how cool is this, that, you know, I have this product, which is a fantastic product, but I get my ads out there and someone in New York sees it, likes it, goes through and purchases a shirt, and it just kind of rolls on from there.
Great. So yeah, this is a little bit tricky. placing the ads on the Google, like using the right words. This is not just dependent on your grammar or are you fluent English. So this is something about the research as well. You have to search for the keywords and then you are going to use them. Yeah, sure. So by the way, what about the artificial intelligence in your business? Do you think artificial intelligence is still helping your business, or do you have any plans to add artificial intelligence to help your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things about, AI for me is I don't really know the potential of it just yet and how it can impact my business later on. I mean, at the moment, what it really helps me with is kind of just removing myself from the ad copy, and the grammar and the wording of my copy. Because I'm so close to my product and I have such intrinsic value to wool itself, I can write a sentence about wool, which to me gets the message across to, from my point of view, that wool is very great and all the benefits of wool. But for someone who doesn't understand what merino wool is to begin with, that sentence might not make sense to them. So I think something like Chat GPT kind of not dumbs it maybe simplifies my message to get across to the average consumer who's reading and learning about merino wool for the first time.
Yeah, but you are using AI very limited. just to just to just to maybe transform your messages to make them precise. But yeah, do you think there's something that you like in your current technology, and there's something that you don't like in your current system?
I mean, for now, it all seems, as I said, I'm still on this learning curve. So doing everything manual is kind of very important to me now and makes sense. I think down the line, just something as simple as third-party logistics company, taking that off my hands and kind of using platforms to get the orders in and then go straight and someone else ships it off could be a great time saver down the road as I build this business up. But for the moment, everything seems to work very well. I don't understand how it all works, but I haven't had too many hiccups yet. But yeah, so far everything is kind of in sync and working, which I'm
Good.
very pleased with.
That's
Good.
awesome. So I guess like as of right now, the next 3 to 6 months, what is your number one priority for your business?
I've just ordered my new designs, so my new lines that are coming out, which I'm pretty excited about. Like starting off as a self-funded business, you can't go too big too early, and also you need that learning curve. So I launched with just one product in 2 different colors, just to see how that would go with consumers, and thankfully feedback was really, really good. And so now I can kind of expand into my next designs, which I'm super pumped for. So, I've just put the order in. So they should be getting here in the next few months, around fall. So for me, until then, it's kind of just treading water until I get that inventory in, and then I can really push on my marketing. So, and, work ads up again and get things back on track.
What was your biggest challenge in terms of getting started with this?
It sounds cliche, but like literally just getting started. I didn't know where to start. But I think, that phrase is so true, because even if you're not starting on the right path, you can learn that quickly and you can kind of cancel that path out. So, for me, I was like, okay, where do I find the thread and that I need to, therefore make the yarn and things like that. And I just was like, well, hang on, let's just reevaluate here. And is that actually the best step to take forward? And I said, well, okay, well, no, all right, what are the other alternatives? All right, let's talk to this person. Let's talk to this person. And just through those conversations, that's when, okay, well, yeah, let's get some fabric samples sent over. I can check them out. Okay, I like this fabric. I like that fabric. Now, what designs do I have in mind? Pricing, all of that. So as you take a step, you kind of eliminate some other different options you could have taken at that stage, and it just helps you move forward one step at a time.
So I guess like what was your biggest mistake that you made early on?
That's a good question. I mean, there was a couple. I think, in the design phase, understanding, what a spec sheet is and a tech pack, and probably a little naive on how the whole design process works. I had a lot of great help from my partners, thank God. But I don't know if it was a mistake, but I often wonder, okay, which product I should have started with, whether it was, I started with a men's polo shirt that can be worn for golf, work, out to dinner. Like it's very versatile. But then sometimes I also think, well, should I have just started with a plain t-shirt? Would that have been easier? Would that have got more customers in the door? Would I have had a better conversion rate, on the website, etc.? So I don't know if it's a mistake, but definitely something I kind of think about. But luckily it did work out, so I could now order some of those other products.
That's awesome. So, do you mind sharing with our audience in terms of merino wool? Like you mentioned all these, like, it has tons of benefits, but like, why is it great? Why should somebody go and buy your shirts?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess, first of all, just from a pure performance point of view, there's not really any better fabric that breathes, keeps you cool during the warm. It'll keep you cool. If it's cooler, it will keep you warm. It's sweat wicks. My biggest thing that I love is that it's odor resistant. So, the reason you wear a cotton t-shirt or a polyester or a nylon workout shirt and then the next day it just stinks is because when you sweat, the bacteria on your skin actually break down that sweat, and that's what causes the odor. And if your shirt's like polyester or cotton, that bacteria is just going to fester away on that shirt and it's going to smell continuously. Merino wool is antibacterial, so I work out in the same shirt nearly every single day, hang it up, it dries, and it doesn't smell. Like it is unbelievable. And most people don't really know that until they've tried it. Most people will say, yeah, I've heard of merino wool. I have like a pair of socks, and like, yeah, they never smell. So they never really think, okay, well, that can actually be used for other products, et cetera, et cetera. The other part is, it's a completely natural fiber. So it grows on, the grasslands of Australia. It's all pretty much comes from family run and operated farms like ours that have been in existence for 120 years. And, there's fourth and fifth generation that are now running the farms that their great grandfather started. So that's to me why it holds a lot of intrinsic value, but just for the average consumer, like it's probably the softest shirt you'll ever pick up and hold. And then once you wear it, it's going to keep you comfortable outside, inside, out to dinner, wherever you may be. It really truly works. And I think the way I like to kind of describe it to people is, a sheep is made to be outdoors for all of its life, and it wears, it has wool on it, during all of summer, and then in winter when we shear it off, like it doesn't have that much wool on it. So just through natural selection and the evolution of nature, like it has created a natural product which keeps this animal comfortable all year round in any conditions. We have sheep in Australia, all from, some of the hottest, driest parts of Australia up to the highest mountains that is, snow-packed, and, negative degrees in winter. So it just proves the versatility of merino wool across all environments.
So do you think that, like, I mean, I can just speak for myself. I feel like I didn't have enough knowledge about it. Do you see like lots of people in America compared to Australia that maybe just don't have the awareness? And, once they get the awareness, from someone like you, say, okay, now I understand why this is better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I really want to focus on creating my business here in the US. The opportunity and the curse are one and the same, and that's that people are kind of uneducated about merino wool. The opportunity, obviously, is that there's a massive market here that you can one at a time, one customer at a time, like convert them to love and wear wool. And the other, the curse side is that you've got to do that. You've got to speak to every customer. You've got to get them to try your product. But, the thing that gives me such confidence here is that anyone who sees my product or I speak to and they know about merino wool, they love it, and so that to me just kind of reiterates to what I believe in, that it's just such a fantastic product. The other thing I will say on that is there's this connotation that wool is itchy, and I think that's probably the biggest one, which most people think is correct. It is true to a certain point. So wool can be grown across many different sheep, many different breeds of sheep. Now, whether a fiber of wool or a woolly sweater, whatever you want to call it, is itchy, actually comes down to the thickness of the fiber. So on that broad spectrum of animals or sheep that grow wool, on this end, you've got your meat sheep, which are grown primarily for lamb production, the meat side of things. Wool is really the byproduct. So they're going to grow a thicker, coarser fiber than on this end, which is the merino sheep, which is bred specifically for its wool. So it's a much skinnier, smaller animal, but it grows a lot more wool. And that wool is much softer. So across that range, we actually measure each fiber in terms of microns. And around this part of the line is 19.5 microns thick. So on the thin end, you have goes down to, I think the world record's like 9.5 or something like that. You've got to 19, and then on the very thick end, it might go up to, your high 20, 30, 32 micron. If it's thicker than 19.5 micron, that fiber is actually going to be too thick. So when it hits your skin, it doesn't bend. And that's actually what causes the prickle or the itchy factor in an old sweater or a jumper. So everything I make is 18.5 micron, so that it's fine enough and soft enough so that when it actually hits your skin, you're not getting any of that prickle factor, and therefore it's not itchy. And I think including my grandma's sweaters, when, she used to knit them for when we were kids, like they were made out of coarser fiber wool. And so, of course, you get this terrible experience of wearing something that's just itchy and prickly and isn't comfortable. And so I think that's, for me, something I really want to showcase to people is that, hey, no, you can actually wear merino wool. You can wear it to bed, you can wear it skiing, you can wear it golfing, you can wear it to work out in, you can wear it to work. Like, it's just so versatile. And I think, most people or anyone who has a very nice suit, it's made from merino wool and always has been. Now we're just kind of starting to get into this more casualization that allows these kind of products to really take hold.
So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you expect things to go with your business?
That is a good question. I really would love to be full-time within 1 year's time in the business. My aim is to kind of grow this in the next, call it 6 to 8 months to a point where it's kind of attractive for investment and we can really scale this thing up. I think, as I kind of mentioned before, everyone who has an experience with great merino wool loves it. So you've got this kind of exponential curve that the business can really take, because as they wear one t-shirt that they love, they go, okay, well, I just find myself reaching for that wool t-shirt every single time I want to put something on. And then, all right, well, they have golf shirts and they have, shorts, and they have short sleeve button downs. And so they're just kind of all these different products. And, my goal is to create basically enough clothes for someone to wear a whole week in just merino wool.
That's awesome. So if someone watching this wants to find your products, where's the best place where they can find it? If you can share like your website or Instagram, or how they can find you.
Yeah. Best place is Instagram or the website. It's just sirwmerino.com, which is SIRWMERINO. And yeah, it's on Instagram is the same as the website. And that's probably the best two places.
Awesome. Well, Jock, thank you so much for your time. We're rooting for you, wishing you the best of luck. Hopefully, in a year from now, you can raise money and scale your business exponentially. So
that's the plan. Appreciate it, guys. And great to chat to you. And yeah, look forward to having this conversation again in 1 year's time.
sounds great. Thank you so much.
Wish you luck. Bye.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.